This organization is sometimes called a single-issue group, and that is high praise when the single issue you're fighting for is freedom.
Well, that was Mitt Romney, of course, today addressing members of the National Rifle Association. Now, he told them, among other things, that President Obama is not protecting gun owners' rights, but in reality, administration has said very little about firearms and has actually disappointed many gun control advocates if you look over the past 3+ years. Now, Romney's claims have come as obviously he's trying to consolidate conservative support, especially with the news of Mr. Santorum bowing out. But his attempts to woo gun right advocates, it could be a difficult challenge. Now, when running for the Senate back in '94, then candidate Romney supported the Brady Bill, a measure which, as many of you know, imposed a 5-day waiting period on gun sales and a ban on certain assault weapons. At that time, he said, quote, "I don't line up with the NRA," end quote. He later became a lifetime member of the NRA. Now, meanwhile, the intersection of politics and the right of gun owners, it's playing out in a very public way in the backyard of the Trayvon tragedy. Now, at the upcoming Republican National Convention in Tampa, listen to what I'm saying here, because I can't make this up, all right? And Simmons is already saying, oh, geez. You can't bring your water gun to the designated protest zone, but if you want to bring your concealed pistol, no problem. Now, you heard me right. At the Republican convention, if you have a concealed carry permit, you can pack it right into the convention. That is at least how it'll play out if Tampa's proposed rules for the NRC are passed. That's because Florida state law doesn't allow local governments to enact gun laws that regulate guns. Now, the first draft of Tampa's proposed ordinance for the convention didn't include any restrictions when it came to firearms, but city attorneys later removed the ban on guns after finding out about the law. Listen, when this is all said and done here, probably the Secret Service is going to kibosh this thing, but I want you to consider the backdrop of this conversation and how Mitt Romney is going to have to discuss this. All right, and you can't literally bring it into the convention itself. All right, let's talk about where we are on the subject of guns and under the political backdrop as well. And to help us discuss this issue is Ron Pinciero, the executive director of Connecticut Against Gun Violence Education Fund. Ron, thank you very much for a few minutes. All right, we've talked about on this show the trend going on in this country, and you can speak with more authority than I can, but we've talked about how in certain states you can bring guns into parks, you can bring guns into churches, you can bring guns into bars. And even in the aftermath of the shooting in Arizona with Congresswoman Giffords, we saw a guy walking the streets of Arizona with a semi-automatic weapon here. So, trend for me nationally, are there more guns, let alone more gun laws that have been knocked down the last 3 years than the other way around?
Well, there are certainly more guns. You know, gun sales went up quite a bit during the Obama campaign and shortly after his election, and the NRA was, you know, a factor in that because they made gun owners feel that, you know, he's going to institute reform, he's going to take away guns, and gun sales went up. And as you might expect.
Correct me if I'm wrong, there hasn't been much activity on the federal level, but on state levels there have been attempts to make it more permissible in state after state, allowing guns in bars, guns on campuses. So it really has been more directed on the state trend as opposed to federally.
Right. Although there's, you know, the House just passed a bill, federal bill, in the fall, requiring reciprocity, where if you have a permit to carry from any state, that you would be able to carry in any other state, no matter how strict the laws for that state for carrying permits were. In Connecticut, ours are very strict. That passed the House. It's been blocked in the Senate so far, but you know, they're still trying to do that. So, yeah, certainly it's going out to the states a lot. The Florida law, the Stand Your Ground law that we all talk about so much now, which started in 2005, was an effort that started in Florida, which has been, you know, kind of a place to start those things. And they've tried to roll it out into other states, and in fact have rolled it out to more than 20 states in one form or another.
I get the politics of it, but is it disingenuous to say that in the last 3 years, this president's been, you know, as I remember Glenn Beck when he said in his area he's going to try and kick your door down and take your guns away. And that rallying cry, we got more than 300 million guns right now, and gun sales set records here in the aftermath of the election. reality is he hasn't been, taking guns away from Americans, and the laws really haven't, on the federal level, been rolling back to attack gun owners.
Well, you're correct. The reality is, with Fast and Furious, actually, this administration has been providing guns to narco-terrorists in Mexico, which is kind of ironic.
But what about domestic handguns?
And we know the consequences of that. As for Ron and gun violence, we're all opposed to gun violence, but I'm also opposed to knife violence or rock violence or baseball bat violence. And, the problem really is not the weapon itself, but the person who's wielding the weapon.
But here's where I have an issue with that.
30,000 people aren't being killed by knives a year in the United States. Very, very few.
I disagree with that. Although a knife is not as lethal as a gun, but again, the point is we need law enforcement. Violence with any weapon needs to be enforced.
Here's my problem with that. If you listen to the mayors in the front lines, forget what I think. I'm sitting at some desk. We've talked to mayors up and down the eastern seaboard here, and they talk about the iron pipelines bringing guns into their cities, and they say it's not a fair fight. I mean, we had no bleeding art here. That Jersey City police chief who had his guys gunned down because a guy was able to get his hands on an assault weapon, he had body armor, and he was outgunning the cops. Why do we allow assault weapons in this country? Why don't we have the waiting periods we had before? Well, who decided here that we need guns on campuses, guns on bars? I mean, it makes no sense here.
Which is why in Connecticut we have very strict laws, because we're a densely populated state, and we regulate the arms as we see fit. Montana has perhaps a different view on things. Other western states have a different view, and I think that Ron, tell me I'm wrong, but I think in the state of Connecticut we've got very stringent laws, and we've had stringent laws for a long time. The problem always is definition. Is a CAR-15 an assault weapon? Is a shotgun that is automated, is that assault weapon? I mean, it gets down to defining in specific detail what you have. Most of the crimes committed with these weapons are possessed illegally.
There's been a capitulation by your party to guys here for laws that made no sense here because of the power of the NRA. Can we just say it for what it is?
Weapons that are not possessed legally. You know that. You know that.
Yes.
You know that.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Brother Dom.
Yes.
You know
Agree with him.
So we got to
enforce
the law.
If you would oppose the NRA position while you
Let me give poor Ron here a word to get a final word in here, guys.
They would have railed against it.
No. And it gets worse. What's happening now, the movement that concerns me the most now, and Stand Your Ground is an important part of that.
16 other states, only just Florida, by the way. Yep, go ahead.
Right. Is that the feeling is among a certain category of gun owners, a growing, pretty large category of gun owners, that, and what's been said to me so many times is that the police are not there to stop crimes. The police are there to investigate crimes after it happens. We are there to stop crimes. That's dangerous stuff. Yeah. We have a group in Connecticut called the Connecticut Citizens Defense League, which claims to have over 2,000 members. And a member of our House Connecticut reps said in a public safety hearing just a couple of weeks ago that we don't need more state police. We have the Second Amendment. That's what's scary.
All right, we're going to let that be the final word. Ron, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it.